All right, first in pod, Danny Parkins, Andrew Fillipponi, Spencer Ray producing. You know the drill. Every team, every week, every game. Coming to you moments after a Lions beatdown of the Green Bay Packers where they seize control of the NFC North. Pony, you know I'm feeling good about my Lions plus 145 to win the North and my out on that limb win the NFC Super Bowl prediction for the Lions. What were your impressions from the game?
I feel a lot better about Seattle, too, your second favorite team, because they went to Detroit and beat the Lions. That looks a whole heck of a lot better. Largely impressed. I mean, I felt for a long time like the road teams on Thursday Night Football have been at a disadvantage. And to follow up what they did against Atlanta on Sunday, which was a beatdown of them with defense, and then to turn around and beat a team as a favorite. They had not done that in Green Bay since '86. And to do it as a favorite there and to pretty much every facet, every aspect of the game, they were better right from the very beginning. Turnovers, long drives, pass game, run game, pass rush, secondary play. I mean, coaching was better. I mean, if you've got like a checklist and then you've got Lions and Packers and you just go down the list, every box is for the Lions, every check mark. So they're making me a believer, man. They're making me a friggin' believer right now.
Yeah, it's they're very impressive. Vitae was not there. They're excellent guard, but their offensive line looked like it's the best in football. It was straight up dominant. Allowing them to, I mean, Montgomery, I thought he was hurt. Guy gets 30 carries. They draft Gibbs 12th. He's an afterthought to David Montgomery.
Laporta is a monster. What a great pick that guy was. Just take an Iowa tight end when in doubt.
Dude, he might already be the second best tight end in the league. He is awesome.
And how many tight ends went ahead of him too? Definitely Kincaid.
And didn't Mayer go ahead of him?
Yep. How about Musgrave from Green Bay?
I don't remember what order that was.
Spencer can look that up, but definitely Mayer. Round. Definitely Michael Mayer and Kincaid.
Yeah. He looks like he might be the second best tight end in football. Branch, who got hurt but then came back in with the ankle injury, he's made a huge impact. Like their draft was openly mocked, and they're getting huge contributions. And from their third and fourth pick, almost more so than their first and second pick. And I still think their offense hasn't hit its ceiling because Jameis and Williams will come back, and that Gibbs is going to. I'm surprised Gibbs doesn't have more of an impact in their passing game. Like they haven't quite figured that part of it out yet.
I think that's a good thing for them that they're scoring 34 points in a game, and I know defense helped, but you're kicking the crap out of the next best team in your division on the road, and you're still waiting on contributions from guys who are either hurt, too young, or suspended.
Yeah, I think they are very impressive, and I mean I'm feeling vindicated on Goff, man. Like obviously I watch a lot of this division covering the Bears as closely as I do, but like he is really, really good if he is protected. And he's protected. He doesn't make mistakes if he's got a good line. The guy is accurate. He gets the ball to his playmakers, and he can drive the ball down the field. That's a pretty damn good combination, man. So I know like people still think that they can't compete with the Niners or the Eagles. I think they'd put up a ton of points on the Eagles secondary. I think that game would be, I mean, if I set that over under at 49.5, that would be a screaming over for me. So, I mean, maybe the Niners deserve to be ahead of them, but I don't see why what the Eagles have done this year puts them definitively above Detroit.
I would still do it just because I would give Philly the benefit of the doubt. And okay, we haven't seen Hurts have a huge game yet. He'll do that at some point. But I would, they've soared past, they've sprinted past the Cowboys. They're now the third team 100% in the NFC. And Green Bay, I think the moral of the story here is They were gifted a win against the Saints because of the Carr injury. If Carr doesn't get hurt, they lose that game. I'm convinced of that. That doesn't take away from Love making plays late, but they would have lost that game if Derek Carr stayed healthy. And their other win is against your Chicago Bears, the laughingstock of the NFL. So if you put a Colt 45 revolver to my head right now and said, are the Packers going to make the playoffs? I would say no, even with the confidence I have in their coach.
Yeah, I mean, Love did not look good early. He settled down. He had happy feet. I thought early the Lions were really making him uncomfortable. At 21
Bakhtiari went on IR, so you're not going to get that help. He might not play again, Danny.
Yeah, no, I know. Jenkins still hurt. You know, Jones not heavily involved, even though active. Watson is awesome. Like, what I think Watson is just going to be a stud for a decade. But he settled down. But yeah, not an ideal situation, and the team just outclassed. I think. Like, I really do think Detroit's going to end up winning the NFC North by 3 games. Like, I think it's going to be a complete laugher in this division. I do. I mean, dude, they're going to win double-digit games for sure, and they might win 12. They're a really good team. They are I mean, if they stay healthy, like everything, like they obviously have, you know, like anybody, they suffer a few big injuries, they'd be in trouble. But they are a really good team. David Montgomery, 5 rushing touchdowns last year, has 5 already this year. Good offensive line. It helps. It really helps.
All right, let's get to the week 4 games and start with the biggest game of the year so far. And that is the Bills-Dolphins game in Buffalo on Sunday. Miami coming off a 70-point game. Buffalo coming off of 2 straight whoopings on bad teams. We've got the graphic on our YouTube page. Our podcast listeners can't see it, but it's Bills minus 2.5. They're favored here against a team that won by 50 and is undefeated. So I just want to make it pretty broad here and generic. Just give me whatever you want on this game, Danny, to kick things off.
I mean, it's criminal that it's not on national television. That it's not an island standalone game. It's an incredible game. There's a million storylines from it. I love that.
2 years in a row this has happened, by the way. It was a 1:00 game, a regional game last year, too.
Yeah. And by the way, Mayer and Musgrave were the tight ends selected after Laporta. So Kincaid was the only first-round tight end. I thought Mayer went before him. I guess I was wrong on that. I find myself having a root for Buffalo, which I was not necessarily expecting, but my reasoning is this. I like how wide open the AFC feels. I like how, like, Miami's the new team, and then people were down on Buffalo, and then if Buffalo gets blown out in this game, Miami will be the clear number 1 team in the AFC. Some people will always give the Chiefs some credit and some respect, but they blew out the Bears, as you put it, the laughingstock. Like the Dolphins will be the clear powerhouse. I like the idea of the AFC truly feeling wide open for a change, given that the last 5 years it's been the Arrowhead Invitational in the AFC Championship game. So whether or not Buffalo wins the game or not, I really don't want them to get blown out, because I would like to go through the majority of this season feeling like the AFC has a ton of parity and like 4 or 5 teams could come out of it. That's my first big thought.
Okay. I think Buffalo is going to be up for this game, and I give them, if there's a non-X's and O's, component to this game and how it makes me feel about who's going to win, I think that favors Buffalo, because I think the pendulum has actually shifted. They're the hunter again. They're not the hunted in this game. It's Miami now that has the expectations on them, even more so than the Bills, who had been a Super Bowl contender for the last few years. I think the Dolphins are the it team, and I think the Bills are coming out here to remind people, not so fast, it's actually still us. And I love them in this spot because of that. We've seen them do this before, where after they lost the the regular season game after the 13-second debacle. They beat the Chiefs, and that put them, up there as the team to beat before Allen had his elbow injury and Von Miller got hurt. Like, the Bills live for games like this. And so I expect them to be at their absolute best. The Dolphins should get Waddle back. But I think we're going to come out of this game, and we're going to talk Sunday night about how do we trust Buffalo to do this in January? Because I think they're going to win the game, and they're going to win it. Maybe not like emphatically, but I think they'll cover the 2.5, and they'll get a victory that sends shockwaves through the NFL.
I hope so. That would echo my first point of kind of rooting for them to keep the thing being wide open. The thing
I kind of think Miami would be more interesting if they won. Because if Miami were to win a game like this on the road in Buffalo, like, I think you start to look at them. Are they going to go like 15-2 and get the number 1 seed? And are they just going to be the best team in football this season? I think that's what a win for them. Like, that would keep them on pace, I think, to be potentially like an all-time great offense if they go to Buffalo and hang like 30-something on them.
Well, that was what I was going to talk to you about. I am fascinated. Is Buffalo's defense potentially great, or have they just played bad teams? Like, they got the Jets with no Aaron Rodgers. They've allowed 35 points total through 3 games. They have 7 interceptions. They have 2 fumble recoveries. Like, they got 9 takeaways in 3 games. Their defense is putting up elite numbers, but it's not an impressive group of opponents that they've played. And you look at the roster, it's good, but it's not a defense that coming into the year anybody would have said you expect it to be top 5. And when your first 3 games are against a team that you lost to, and it's Zach Wilson, and they lose Aaron Rodgers a couple plays in, and then it's Josh McDaniels in Vegas, and then it's Washington, feels a little bit like a paper tiger.
Yeah,
like,
they've gotten a break with the schedule for sure. There's
but
no
so
doubt about that.
like if they win this game and they win it 37-34, okay, that's maybe the style of the fight that a lot of us would have expected before the year. If they disrupt Miami and their defense is actually legit, we'll talk about them like we've talked about the Chiefs, where it was like, oh, this is the best defense of the Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes.
Right, but
era.
if I'm a Bills fan, I would rather win the 37-34 game. I want my offense, because I'm going to have to win with offense and win shootouts. I want my offense at home to go punch for punch with them and beat them at their game.
Well, I think you'd rather win 37-20. Like,
well, yeah, but I'm saying if I have a choice, I surprisingly slow down their offense, or their offense is the Dolphins offense we've seen through 3 weeks, and I just do it better than them. I want to see Josh Allen outplay Tua, is what I'm telling you. And not because the Bills defense had a Herculean effort. I want my guy to look like the best player on the field on Sunday, and I think he will.
It's just interesting. Like, if you looked at the rosters of the 2 teams' defenses, wouldn't you say that you would expect Miami's defense to be better? Chubb, Wilkins, Howard, Ramsey, Phillips, more like, you know what I mean? More star power
Holland
on Miami's defense. And I'm like, obviously the story is the quarterbacks and the offense and blah, blah, all that's what the vast majority of everyone will talk about. But I wonder which defense we're going to actually think on the contenders in the AFC East is the better defense, given the unbelievable challenge that they both have. So, like, it's a more of a nerdy X's and O's point, but I'm fascinated to see whose defense we actually think is better after they get the test of going up against the opposing offense. It's a great game. All right, Commanders, Eagles. Philly lost this game last year. Do you think Philly should be on upset alert?
So this game looks a lot from a line standpoint. The odds makers look at this game like the games we had last weekend where the favorites lost. The Colts beating the Ravens, the Texans beating the Jaguars. It's a similar spread. The Commanders went there and won this game last year and scored 30-something points.
They scored 3 last week against Buffalo at home.
Yes. But these are your Commanders. You
Yes.
are out there. You're out of
I mean, I'm out there in that I think that they can get the 7th seed in the NFC, but yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
If I just go by how Philly has played this year, they've got to run the ball. That's what they've done all season, more successfully than any team in the league. And Washington has that great defensive line. So, I mean, am I nuts for thinking that this is going to be a really close game and maybe Washington wins?
Yeah, because what about Washington's offensive line? They allowed
not particularly great.
They allowed Sam Howell to get sacked 9 times, dude.
Yeah, did you see any of that game though?
I saw the recap after the fact.
I think most of that was on Howell, but I don't think that gets fixed in a week. Especially, he's up right now thinking about that inside pressure.
Yeah,
those edge guys, Hassan Reddick, Jalen Carter. So even though I don't think it was like an offensive line failure, I think the quarterback made bad decisions and held onto the ball and didn't make quick calls. I don't expect that to be that much better.
Right. I think Eagles pass rush against Washington, Howell, turnovers, offensive line, pretty bad recipe. But I still think, man, like then for Washington, it's Chicago, Atlanta, and the Giants after this. Like 2-2, Arizona, Denver, Buffalo, Philly. For someone who thought that they could win 8 games or 9 games, they'd be exactly on pace for where I had them preseason, even in a loss. Now, you can't have a quarterback turn the ball over 4 times, but Washington's been about what I expected this year. Are you betting Washington?
Yes.
Oh, God. Peace be with you. All right, Chiefs, Jets. Taylor Swift's going to the game again.
God.
NBC going to get record ratings. Collinsworth's going to say really cringeworthy things. Is she going to see another blowout?
Wait a minute here. Just so I want to respond to the first part of that. Do you mean that? You actually think that this game is going to do huge ratings because a pop star might be shown on camera 20 times?
I mean, we have the data. Did you see the number for Chiefs Bears?
No.
Dude, it was huge.
Compared to what?
24 million people watched that game.
And what's the expectation for
like 20? And
okay,
the
extra 4 million.
It was 34-0 at halftime. And it was 40% over average. Or 20% over average. Yeah, dude. Yes, I do. Yes. I absolutely mean that. That there will be an extra couple million people that tune in. She is shockingly famous. Like in our lifetime.
But what are those people who are tuning in? What do they just want to see her cheer?
They want to see her cheer and they want to learn about her boyfriends because her relationships are normally secretive.
I'm not even and so we know for sure that they're an item now. That's been established. They're for sure dating.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you on the internet?
So you think legitimately they're together 100%? This is not a work. This is not.
I mean, listen. That's not what I'm. That's not the question. Like, I'm not. I don't know if this is like a publicist thing, but like, she doesn't need the publicity. He certainly gained something out of it because he wants.
So Travis Kelce has said Taylor Swift is my girlfriend. That's
dude. But what is this, high school? Like, you have to name the relationship. She was photographed on TMZ sitting on his lap with her arm around him, and she was reportedly taking shots with Brittany Mahomes at an after party. They left in his convertible together. She met his mom. She's going to back-to-back games.
A female friend
have you been in a coma for a week?
A female friend will sit on a male friend's lap. That's not a guarantee that they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
What is this title thing that you're putting on? They're two young people hanging out, having fun. I'm not saying that
Okay.
they have a
Let's leave
commitment.
it. Let's leave it right there. They're hanging out.
Yeah, they're hanging out. They've had physical relations. Yeah. 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 Dude, did you see that the Empire State Building lit up the lights red and a little white, and they sent out a tweet that said chicken finger with ketchup and a little ranch, because there was that picture from the skybox of Taylor Swift with a chicken tender with some ketchup and ranch on her plate. She is weirdly famous. Like, literally in our lifetime, Michael Jordan, the Pope, maybe some international soccer players. Like,
How about Michael Jackson?
Okay. Dude, in America, I think that Taylor Swift might be the most famous person of our lifetime.
What?
Dude, she might be more famous than Barack Obama and Michael Jordan.
Dude,
Yeah, dude.
she's been singing for like the last 20 years. I don't remember the last 18 or 19 years her being this huge. This happened
I don't know
overnight.
what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. This is crazy, man.
But do you disagree with what I just said? She's been performing for like 2 decades. Do you remember up until the last few months her being this big? So
I don't know
what
anything
changed?
about music. Clearly, I'm wrong. Like I'm the worst person ever to ask that.
So then why are you like getting up on your soapbox here to make your point if now you're just saying this is not an area of expertise? In fact, I'm completely ignorant to all this stuff.
No. I'm ignorant to music. I could not name you 10 Taylor Swift songs, but what I could do is I can acknowledge fame and like cultural impact. And like, dude, she showed up in Lawrence, Kansas at a brewery, and all of a sudden there were hundreds of people outside waiting. Like, just because like
a lot of rock
media
stars did that would happen, I think. I don't think that's a unique situation.
She's weirdly famous, man. She is a weirdly famous person.
So
All
is
right.
your conspiracy theory that the NFL is like paying her to attend this game so people will actually watch Chiefs Jets?
No, I think that she is smitten with Travis Kelce. That's what I think.
Well, now I'm really hoping the Jets win. I really want to see them win this game. I think they're going to be competitive. The one thing I'll say about the Jets is that their defense at home has played well against the Patriots and against the Bills in week 1. And the Chiefs won road game. They scored 17 points. So I think that that's going to be a pretty fair fight. Now, Zach Wilson against the Chiefs defense will not be.
No.
And he's going to get booed and he's going to get destroyed. And one of his teammates might beat him up on the sideline. I'm not even sure he plays the entire 60 minutes. But
if I gave you the over-under at Jets offensive points scored at 13.5.
I would not want the over on that.
Correct. I don't think this game's going to be competitive. I don't think they can score. I think Breece Hall's looking better. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Obviously, they're way better than the Bears, but I don't think they can score on the Chiefs.
What would have happened if Taylor Swift started dating a guy that was on like a lower end NFL team? Would the NFL just start flexing those games into bigger spots?
Have you seen like the jokes of the fantasy football community of like, it's a good thing that she's not dating Kyle Pitts? Like,
but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the NFL would necessarily rearrange.
Like if she started dating Andy Dalton, would they put the Panthers games in a prominent spot?
I think Andrew Catalan would be pretty excited. I think him and Spiro Ditas would be pretty pumped about it. That's what I think.
All right, I'm happy we had this conversation. This was a enlightening one. Patriots, Cowboys. We love betting. Is how I started this one.
You made that sound real natural when you read your own writing there, buddy. Good
Why
job.
are the Cowboys a touchdown favorite here?
I think the answer to that is because they don't believe that the Patriots can score against the Cowboys defense and their pass rush. That's
We
what I
just
think.
watched Arizona do it.
I know that. I'm aware. I'm aware of that. This is a bounce back spot for Dallas. They are at home. And I think that the Patriots defense is good, but overall, there's not much belief in Mac Jones and the Patriots offense. And even though the Cowboys defense took a hit with Diggs and gave up 28 to Arizona, I think for the most part, this is Cowboys are at home. They have the better quarterback. They have the better offense, and they have arguably the better defense. You want the Patriots in the spot?
Yeah. I don't really, everything you said there, like, shouldn't the Patriots now, after the two teams they played at the start of the year, the Eagles and Dolphins, shouldn't we have a much higher opinion of them based on how competitive they were in both of those games? They could have easily won both. Well, they could have easily won the Philadelphia game if the wide receiver got his second foot in bounds there on fourth down. Maybe not so much Miami. That still would have been a little bit fluky had they pulled that off with like the Cole Strange play at the end there. But like, those
They've
might be the
scored
two.
20, 17, and 15 points in their 3 games.
Would you say that they played top 5 to 10 defenses in all 3? Jets,
Yeah. I mean, I know
Dolphins,
who they
Eagles.
played. I know who they played.
Okay. And who has Dallas played again?
I mean, yeah, the New York teams in Arizona.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go back to like you before the season on this. It's Belichick against McCarthy. I think I'll go with Bill because I think their offense is actually coached much better this year. So I think the Cowboys are coming way back down to earth.
So do you hold on a second? Do you not think the Cowboys defense is good?
No, I do. No, I think it is good. I'm not sure.
Do you like the under in this game then?
I mean, look at the total, how low it is. 43.5.
Low totals go under, buddy. High totals go over.
Well, then I probably would go under in this game. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying, it feels like you should. Because I definitely trust both defenses more than I trust the Patriots offense. That's the unit of the 4 that I trust the least. All right, Falcons, Jaguars. First international game of the year. Do you think the Jaguars are the London Jaguars this time, 2030?
I mean, based on now I've got this Taylor Swift conversation still like in my brain. Okay. Right. Okay.
Why is that impacting this? I don't understand.
Because like if it's an entertainment industry and it's all about like serving the people that spent money on your league, like the Foxes and CBSs and everything else, if you take the Jags and you take them out of Jacksonville and you put them in London, and then you've got like Sky Sports and BBC and all that stuff too. Like we talk about the value of a franchise. What do you think? Look at like the value of the franchise for the Raiders going from Oakland to Vegas. What do you think it would be if the Jags went from Jacksonville to London full time? Think about how much money that would bring into the league. I didn't look at the Forbes list, but I'm guessing they're in the bottom 5. They'd be in the top 10 instantly if they made that move. They're going to do it. It's just a matter of making it work, I think. Making the schedule work. Maybe they have to play like they have they have to, it's going to be weird. Like they'll maybe play like 4 games in a row at home and then, or 2. I don't know how they do it, but I think they will be there. Yeah.
So normally I would agree with you, like on something like this, that like leagues don't contract, they expand, right? Stadiums, maybe they get smaller, but it's because they want to add more luxury boxes. Things get more expensive. Television contracts go up. Everything gets more and more and more and more about the money, right? There are teams in the Pacific Ocean that are going to be in the ACC, right? Like everything's about the money in sports. Are you telling me that kids from Boise and Ann Arbor and Tuscaloosa are going to get drafted and be forced to live internationally across an ocean from their family? Like, that just seems like a hurdle and an ask of players who enter a union that for some reason to me, and you can say this is not logical because it happens in the NBA where you got to live in Canada or whatever, but like, it just doesn't seem practical to me where you could be drafted and have to leave the country and live that far away from where you grew up. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I think that hurdle and the idea of like 4 games in a row at home, then you're playing 4 games in a row
I don't know.
on the road, and now you're the family that you're raising in London.
I mean, flip it for the NBA. Guys like Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki and Yao Ming and those guys come over and play because it's the best league in the world. Hockey players from Sweden, Finland, Russia.
Right. I understand. I get it, but they are coming to the best league voluntarily.
Right. Okay, but I think the trade-off is the windfall. So these guys are independent contractors. They're trying to maximize their earnings and make as much money as they can. Okay, you're living in Jacksonville, Florida. There's only so much you can do with that from a marketing standpoint. You're telling me you're like the quarterback of the London Jaguars? You're the face of that franchise in one of the biggest cities, most cosmopolitan cities in the entire world. You're going to make a ton more money doing that. Yeah, I think guys.
But what about the right guard who was drafted in the 5th round?
He's probably just stoked that he's in the NFL. You don't think it's a culture shock for guys who are from like Tuscaloosa to go to like San Francisco or Los Angeles or something like that?
I'm not saying it's not. And like, so all right. So London makes the most sense. Is that where it ends? Or is it gonna be Germany and Paris? And like, now they're going to also be drafted into places where like English is the second language. Like I love Europe. I go as often as I possibly can. You can like travel is only going to get faster and easier. And these guys are flying first class and all of it. Like I would be totally pumped about it. It just strikes me as a huge, huge logistical pain in the ass and a huge ass.
Then why else are they playing why are they doing this then? And why are they making Jacksonville play 2 weeks in a row over there?
Well, they have got bad home attendance. Obviously, they'd be the team to do it. I think they're doing it to grow the game because they think that they've about reached their cap in America, and the more NFL that they can go to markets that crush it, and they're going to keep doing it. They're going to do more Germany games, more Mexico City games. They should. It's awesome. Like I think it's great. And I know people that have traveled internationally to go watch their team play, and I think it's a good thing. But I'm skeptical about the logistics about a permanent team over there, especially if it's just one team. Like, so again, like, so you said 4 games in a row at home. So you got to play 4 games in a row.
I just
on the road, you're just away from your family for a month during the season.
You're really hung up on this family thing. You're really pounding the table for.
Yes, I care about the players.
Maybe they want to get away from their family. You ever think about that?
I hadn't considered that. You don't care about these players? Is that what you're saying?
Cardinals and 49ers.
You skipped 3 games.
Oh. I had Cardinals and 49ers written down here.
Oh, I don't even have Cardinals and 49ers on the list of what you sent me. Never mind.
Oh,
go ahead.
Cardinals and 49ers. If you put Josh Dobbs on the 49ers, is he putting up numbers like Brock Purdy?
Yes.
I was hoping you said that.
Yeah. I mean, he's unbelievably smart. He'd pick up the system quickly. Shanahan has gotten most quarterbacks to produce there. He already beat Dallas with much less talent. I think you give him a training camp, and I don't know that if tomorrow he switched, he would put up the numbers, but with a training camp and a few games, yeah, I think he would be producing like Brock Purdy. I think 60 quarterbacks would be. Yeah.
That's such a shot at Purdy. And usually for a long time, I was the person doing that and you were getting mad at me. You just said that Purdy was equal to a guy that has won one game in the NFL in 7 seasons and has played for, I think, 5 teams.
Dude, so do you know about Tyson Bagent by any chance?
Yeah, he's the guy from Shepherd University that's the Bears' backup quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, D2, undrafted. Okay. People here keep saying that he's the next Brock Purdy. Smart, had a ton of reps.
We might have a chance to find out in about a month.
Yeah, dude, I know. But my point is that like everybody, like Brock Purdy is now just like this like litmus test. He's just this standard bearer for, yeah, anybody can do it and come in and be successful. I think it's pretty rare, but in that particular situation, like I think if Tyson Bagent came in and played for the Bears, he'd get killed personally. I'm rooting for him. I interviewed him in training camp. He probably would get the ball out faster than Fields, but I don't think
I think you could get the ball out faster than Fields. I mean, that's really not saying anything.
Right, but I don't think he would produce much. But in San Francisco, I think a lot of dudes would produce. Yeah, I do. And I don't think Purdy, you know me, man. I like the eye test of Justin Herbert. I don't like the eye test of Purdy.
The Dobbs, see, my eye test has changed on Purdy. I've seen him make more throws than I thought he was capable of making so far this year.
You're scarred because of what he did to your team.
Okay, well, all right. The Dobbs thing will be interesting in this way because of what you said there. Like, the guy's highly intelligent. He's a rocket scientist. He's shown he can play in different systems. When Kyler Murray comes back, is that a guy that a quarterback needy team would trade for midseason? Like, if you're the Jets, there's all this reporting now about how they don't think any of these guys move the needle. How about him in like 2 to 3 weeks?
Meaning like because you think he's smart enough to pick up the system immediately?
Right. And Kyler's going to play.
So like what are the Jets going to be in in 3 weeks? Aren't the Jets are going to be 2-4, right? At best.
Yeah, but you still have 11 games left, and the thing is he's cheap and he's mobile. So you could actually get him to play behind that offensive line and expect him to not get killed on every play.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I respect it. As always, we're going way too slow.
Come on, let's go. Pick up the pace here, Danny. What's next?
Ravens, Browns. Do you consider the winner of this game the AFC North favorite?
No, because I'm picking the Browns to win, and I can't ever bet on them or predict them to do anything of any substance. So I think they'll win this game, and I think they'll find a way to blow it over the subsequent 14 weeks of the NFL season.
Well, what I'll say then is if that happens, you should then bet the Ravens or whoever you think is going to win it after the game. Because right now, Baltimore is plus 170 to win the North, and Cleveland is plus 210, with Cleveland as a favorite in this game, which would make me think that if Cleveland wins the game, they do become the gambling favorite. But if they're expected to win the game, I'm a little surprised that Baltimore is such
Who would you pick to win the division right now?
Baltimore. The Burrow injury, like he really impressed me with his toughness last week, but it's clearly going to be a thing that lingers. And I think Lamar is going to continue to get better over the course of the year, and hopefully they get healthier. So I'd pick Baltimore, but Cleveland's defense is really good, man.
They've given up one offensive touchdown this year. That's
it. They are very, very good. So if it's going to just be a kick the crap out of each other division and like no one wins double-digit games, then yeah, I do think that Cleveland could win it. Speaking of Bengals Titans, would you sit Joe Burrow?
Yes, absolutely. Not even a hesitation on that one. Yeah, he's sitting down. He's not playing this game. Your defense looked incredible if you're the Bengals against LA with all those sacks and Hendrickson, Hubbard, and those guys up front. Ryan Tannehill's been a turnover machine, and Derrick Henry can't get any traction behind that offensive line. Yeah, I'm going to trust my backup quarterback and my defense to win this game and give Burrow a chance to rest after playing on a short week. 100%. Yeah, he's out for this game if I'm running the Bengals.
So, like, this stuff always makes me laugh. Like, can't we just admit that we have no idea? Like last year, we were like, it's completely negligent for Justin Herbert to play with his rib injury. And then they were like, actually, it's not going to heal in a short amount of time. And with the padding, it shouldn't get worse. It's a straight pain tolerance issue. That was like what the doctor said, but all of us had all of these opinions on it without actually having any idea. So if you told me if he skipped this game, Joe Burrow is healthy for the rest of the year, then yeah, sure, I'm with you. But we have no idea if that's true.
Yeah, but we know how sprains and strains work, and rest makes them better. Now, not completely healed. It's not like, he's going to be completely cured if he gets 2 weeks off, but
But so like why like my answer is no. My answer is play him because this is an AFC game against the team that you could compete with for the wild card and for conference tiebreakers. And next week it's Arizona, and then the week after that it's Seattle, and then the week after that is.
Well, we didn't ask about Arizona and Seattle. I mean,
my point is, he played last week. He played well. They won. Do it again, and then sit him after that if you want to for NFC games, and then a bye week, and you could sit him for 3 weeks in a row if you wanted to, and only miss 2 NFC games.
Yeah, I just feel like they dodged a bullet with him in the Rams game, and they just had him tough it out because they treated it almost like a playoff game. And he said as much afterwards. He said the risk of going 0-3 was too much for me to sit this game out. They treated it like they looked at those percentages and knew if they lost, their season was over. At 1-3, I don't think they'd feel the same way. So, I mean, I would try to rest him as long as I could before I felt like I was back into a must-win situation. That's what I would do. I would literally treat it like that.
All right. You think he's going to play though, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Rams Colts. Jonathan Taylor trade rumors are back. What would happen for you if Indy traded him to the Dolphins? Rappaport said that's the team to look out for. He thinks that's the team he'll end up getting traded to. Back on Jonathan Taylor trade talk.
It surprised me when Rappaport said that. I mean, Miami, they 5 touchdowns from 2 running backs last week?
Yep. But this goes back to what you've said about San Francisco. San Francisco showed that with Mostert and with Wilson, who are both in Miami now, that they could have an effective running game. But, man, if you get Christian McCaffrey in there, it's going to take it to an even higher level. And maybe the Dolphins are looking at the same way with Taylor. Now, my opinion, it's not apples to apples because McCaffrey is so much more versatile and is just overall a much better player.
Right, which is what we've talked about before.
But it would not.
How do you pronounce that dude's name on Miami who had 200 yards and a couple of touchdowns? Achane? Yeah. Like that guy has that game. And
he's a burner. He's a friggin' flyer. That guy's just an absolute. He's so small, but he can fly.
Achane.
Yeah.
So but that's what I'm saying. So that guy has that game in that spot, and then you're trading for a bruising running back who needs volume touches. Like, if I'm them, I'm not giving up more draft picks. Like, they don't need more running back help. Like, say if you got a draft pick to trade to add a veteran, around Halloween at the trade deadline, wait to see what position you really need. I don't look at Miami and think they need Jonathan Taylor. That would really, really surprise me.
The only way
he's going to win this game, by the way.
Rams and Colts.
Yeah.
Is Anthony Richardson going to play?
I don't know the answer to that.
That matters to me.
Yeah, it definitely matters to me. I like Minshew more than him right now.
Me too. I would say the Rams looked atrocious on Monday night.
Yeah.
But I think I would pick them to bounce back in this game, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get Kupp back involved, what that does to Nakua and Atwell, who have both looked pretty good in the first 3 games of the year.
All right, Raiders, Chargers. At this point, given how they've started the year, what would you consider a good season for the Chargers?
Okay, so I asked this question or worded this question because I think right now, there are very few Chargers fans, so the odds of one listening to this podcast are slim to none. They're hard to find. Most of their fans are still pissed that they left San Diego, and I don't think they've been so good that they've created fans all over America. They might be the team with the smallest fan base in the entire league right now, which is a shame because of guys like Herbert. I think if they make the playoffs, that's going to be looked at as a success, but it shouldn't be, right? Like, I think at this point, if Staley got them to say 9-8 and they were the 7th seed, I think he keeps his job. Would you agree with that?
No, I think he has to get fired. So
then what would be a success? They got to win one playoff game?
They got to win a playoff game. Yeah. I mean, Herbert's, he's gotten paid, right? Like he's.
What if they're the 7 seed and they go to Kansas City and they lose in overtime? Or what if they're the 6? You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
sure. I mean, the AFC is good. They've started 1-2. One of their losses is to Miami. I understand what you're saying. They've got it's 3 close games. Their 2 losses are by a combined 5 points. Like, I think that they are good, and not everybody gets to win playoff games every year. So of course I see what you're saying, but I also think that most people who watch Chargers all 22 tape are pretty damn convinced that Brandon Staley is a detriment to the organization. So, and I would think that if that job became available and they didn't promote Kellen Moore, I would think that Ben Johnson, who we just saw with the Lions, put up 30. You know what I mean? I think it would be the most desirable vacancy in the NFL, other than maybe if you wanted to come coach Caleb Williams in Chicago with a couple of first-round picks, but Herbert is an established dude in his prime with a good roster around him. Yeah, you got to go through Mahomes, but I think that in order to save their coach's job, they have to win a playoff game. So I think that's the standard, or else someone new gets to coach Herbert next year.
I think just because there's such a lack of interest in them, I just feel like the standard for what gets coaches fired there is so much higher because there's no like cult of fans that are going ballistic and demanding, heads rolling. There's none of that there. So who knows? I mean, it's the whims of the owner, I guess, but like, bottom line for me is maybe Staley doesn't have to do as much as we think. Oh yeah, let me read the next one for you, Danny. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry.
I was just staring at you because this is yours. Broncos and Bears.
Well, that's why I thought you were going to ask, buddy.
Which team should feel worse about its current situation?
So, in the season, it's the Bears. Overall, organizationally, I think it's the Broncos. Because the Bears, 2 shots at Caleb Williams, a second first-round pick from Carolina that's also looking like it could be the Caleb Williams pick or a top 5 pick. So they easily could have 2 picks in the top 5, a generational quarterback prospect, and they have top 10 cap space, and they can go out and hire a new coach and completely clean house. Denver, Sean Payton, we think he's good. He might not be. He might be too old school Bill Parcellsian and just on a complete power trip and rubbing people the wrong way. It's not for sure that Sean Payton is good there yet still. And Russell Wilson, huge contract, old, looking better, but not a guarantee. So I think the big picture health of the organization, next 5 years, I'd rather buy the penny stock that is the Chicago Bears than the Denver Broncos. Also, you don't have to go through Mahomes. So long term, I think Bears are in a better spot. But which one is more of a disaster this year? It's the Bears, and it's not close. Dude, I mean, the Broncos got blown out by a team that might be the best team in the NFL. The Bears are
They didn't just get blown out, Danny. They gave up 70 points and 700 yards of offense.
To the number 1 offense in the league. I mean, the Bears were non-competitive against Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. You know,
Yeah.
the Bears they can't do anything. They cannot do anything. At least the Broncos have a 2-point loss and a 1-point loss this year. They have had compelling fourth quarters of football. I haven't watched a compelling fourth quarter of football yet this season. So I think this year has been more of a disaster for the Bears than the Broncos.
I still think, though, that I would side with the Broncos just because even though there's the freedom of moving on from a cheaper quarterback, even though you drafted him in the first round, and firing a coach who's a linebackers coach and has no business being an NFL head coach. Just the Broncos organizationally have won so much with their ownership that I trust them, even after the Hackett disaster, to make more of the right moves than the Bears. The Bears haven't gotten anything right since 2010. Like, what makes me think that's going to change?
The 4 coaches since Lovie Smith, who they fired after a 10-win season, are Mark Trestman, John Fox, Matt Nagy, and Matt Eberflus.
Right. So, okay, you can have a new quarterback and a new head coach, but when has that ever worked in Chicago? You know, like
no,
that's.
I mean, listen, if you're going to talk about organizational incompetence, it's hard to argue against anything other than the Bears. Obviously, Kevin Warren's the new president. People think that's a new day around here. What happens for the Bears right now, the situation is Denver, Washington, Minnesota, Vegas. Those are the next 4 games. You have no good defenses in there, especially no good pass defenses. You got 4 games. This is it. This is the end. This is the last stand. If they don't look competent offensively in this stretch of football, it's all over. And I know a lot of people listening to this would be like, hey, dummy, it's already over. It probably is. But give me at least 2 or 3 of these 4 games before I'm expected to completely give up on my guy, Justin Fields. All right.
Speaking of quarterbacks that people have given up on, Bucks and Saints is a battle of former number 1 quarterbacks. Who did you have higher hopes for, Baker Mayfield or Jameis Winston?
Jameis.
Me too.
I thought that Jameis was going to be awesome. Huge arm, huge quarterback. Like, he looked the part. Baker always kind of looked like a college player. Like, his highlights in college are unbelievable, but Jameis always looked the part. I'm more surprised Jameis is bad than Baker is bad. Yeah.
I think they both suffer from the same thing. There's like an immaturity or a cavalier attitude about things with both guys. Like the things that like Cowherd gets on quarterbacks for, like you need to be the CEO of a company kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like these 2 guys are the antithesis of that. There's something sophomoric about both guys. And Baker like has the chip on his shoulder and is too sensitive and too silly. And Jameis is just a kind of a weirdo and a character. And he stuffed a W hand down his throat in a pregame speech. Like it's just, but they both had their moments, man. I mean, Jameis led the league in passing.
They're look, when they're in their rhythm and they're in their groove, they're kind of ballers.
Yeah. So I think the bottom line is I think the league's better when both of these guys are among the 32 starting quarterbacks because they both have the penchant for having games where they light the other team up for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards or throw 4 interceptions and single-handedly lose their team the game. So I am actually curious. There's a curiosity to this game for me this weekend.
That's fair. I do like when the bad quarterbacks are the former number 1 overall picks. Oh, this is fun. Fun question. Steelers, Texans. Do you think 32 out of 32 general managers would take CJ Stroud over Kenny Pickett if those were their only 2 choices?
Yes.
Do
you agree?
Yeah, of course. But I thought it was going to be Joe Burrow.
Well, Here's the thing about this. I think that let's revisit this one Sunday night
Oh, okay.
because
Good idea.
the Stroud thing is interesting to me. Like, yeah, he didn't throw any interceptions in their first 2 games, but they got beaten pretty decisively in both of those games. And so he threw the ball a lot because they were trailing, and the numbers were inflated by that. But then when they actually beat Jacksonville, like what I noticed was he started to get credit actually for the things he did in garbage time. Like the cumulative numbers of, oh my God, look at how many yards he has in 3 games. And oh my God, look how many pass attempts he's gone without throwing an interception. I feel like what he did in the Jacksonville game actually validated what he did in the first 2 games, because at no point, and I watched the entire Baltimore Houston game in a pretty good chunk of the Baltimore or Houston Indianapolis game. At no point after those 2 games did I feel like Stroud was like a can't miss prospect or a guy that was the real deal. It's like that flip happened after this Jacksonville game. So what I'm saying is people are making, me included, people are making a lot really of one game. How great he looked against Jacksonville. He played an A+ game as a rookie against the Jaguars. He played a flawless game. He played a perfect game against them.
But I think what you're saying is just like but that makes sense. Like I understand why we would do that, because he's being graded. He shouldn't be compared to Kenny Pickett, who's been in the league. He shouldn't be compared. Like he feels ahead of schedule. CJ Stroud was not.
But I didn't feel that way after 2 games, is what I'm telling you. I needed the Jacksonville game to feel that way.
But see, like to me, like I mean, maybe it's because I've watched quarterbacks struggle so much, man. Like a 300-yard passing game, even in garbage time, even with checkdowns, even in a double-digit loss, when it's your second game in the NFL, I'm sorry, that's impressive. A lot of people think that he shouldn't even be playing, and he's throwing for 300-something yards. Justin Fields has never thrown for 300 yards.
Yeah,
in an NFL game.
It's even more impressive because his offensive line is so injured, and look at the guys he's throwing the ball to.
That's what I'm saying. Like these guys get graded on a curve, right? Like if Russell Wilson had 300 yards in garbage time of a 20-point loss, nobody gives a shit. But if you do it in your second game in the league with a bunch of injuries around you, when you're supposed to be one of the 3 worst teams in the football, and you weren't, and like a ton of people said you should not have even been the second quarterback taken, that you were a questionable prospect, all that, like he is ahead of schedule. So yes.
So if there was a redraft right now, you take him ahead of Richardson and Young?
I mean, like I haven't watched every pass of all 3, but yeah.
Okay.
Would you?
I'd say yes over Young. I still would say no to Richardson.
Richardson's athleticism is impressive. Vikings, Panthers. You think Kirk Cousins gets paid again?
Okay, so I went and looked at this. This is why I put this out there, because he's 35 years old and he's a free agent at the end of the year, and he can't really move. And so I think about like the guy I watched, Roethlisberger, in his late 30s. You know, what happened to Matt Ryan in Indianapolis at the end. Like is someone going to be dumb enough to give him more than $30 million a year this offseason? Is that actually going to happen? If I think so.
But it's just a question of how many years. And like, if I were him, I would go to the dome team with the best offensive line. You know, like maximize that situation. Like, I think that he'd be really good on Detroit. And by the way, he's putting up incredible numbers on Minnesota.
Okay, so let me ask you this question. If the Falcons traded for Kirk Cousins next week, would you pick them to win that division?
I'd be thrilled that I have Drake London on a couple of fantasy teams. I'll tell you that much.
I think I would.
Yeah, I mean, like Kyle Pitts and Drake London would immediately. Like Pitts would be a top 5 tight end in the NFL by production immediately. And I think Drake London would probably be a top 15 receiver in the NFL.
Like, I think that's the team for him. I think that's like more than Tennessee or somebody like that. I think that's probably that's the move. He's not going back to Washington, even though it's a new
Are
owner
you
there.
convinced he's not going back to Minnesota?
Would you want him back if you were the Vikings? I wouldn't. I'd want to start over at quarterback if I'm them. I'd want to draft somebody. They're probably going to have to trade up to do it. But
Yeah, but I mean, isn't he the perfect guy for Bo Nix or Shadir Sanders or whomever to Drake May to sit behind for a year?
I think he's going to demand. I think you know how he plays things. I think he's going to want like a 3-year, $100 million deal guaranteed. Something like that. I think he's going to want, or maybe even more than that. Maybe it's like 3 years, $110 million or 120. I think he's going to get something like that. I'm in Minnesota. I can't do that. I know where I can go with. I know my ceiling with Kirk Cousins as my quarterback.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I just think that I wonder, like, does he also get a no trade clause? Because I could see them saying, I want to have Kirk Cousins.
He's got one now.
He does have a full no trade clause now?
Yep.
Well, then, yeah, he would still have it in his next deal.
I don't. It's. I'm not going to ask Spencer to look this up last second because we're winding down here. But the way that contract got negotiated with voidable years, I don't think Minnesota can franchise tag him. I think he is becoming a free agent at the end of this season. That they don't have that option. Because to your point, if they did, you could tag him like he got tagged in Washington, and then draft the quarterback, and you've got your Alex Smith situation there. But I don't think they're allowed to do that with him. So,
well, we'll look that up and have that information for next podcast.
But this dude is gonna have a good enough season where he hoodwinks a team. And I will say again, I think in Atlanta it would actually work. If he went
that's the thing, like hoodwinks a team, man. So like I obviously go for upside at quarterback. I supported the Colts drafting Richardson because in the AFC you can't play it safe. Like you want a superstar, it's what every fan base dreams of and all of that. But there's also then the reality of there's 32 teams and there are not 32 of those quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins is absolutely good enough to get you to the playoffs and win you a playoff game.
Okay, so let me ask you let's finish on this note, where I am the Steelers. If Kenny Pickett finishes this season looking like he does right now, if you're a Steelers fan, would you want Kirk Cousins next year?
Are my options Kenny Pickett or Kirk Cousins?
I mean, your options are you can draft over Pickett and take another quarterback in the first round, I guess, if you want.
I mean, I'm always interested in that. If you think that there's a guy there, you know what I mean? Like drafting your franchise guy that you could have for cheap. But yeah, that would be a huge upgrade for them. Now, I will say, like I said earlier, great offensive line in a dome. I don't love the idea of Kirk Cousins playing 9 home games a year in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'd hate it if he was their quarterback because I would know how that movie or story ends. I would just
Yeah. And they cannot tag him next year. Good job.
Good job, Spence. All right, Danny. Enjoy the games this Sunday.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you
Sunday night.
Sunday night after Taylor Swift delivers a massive audience to NBC and Sunday Night Football because they're normally struggling for that sort of thing. Thank you to Spencer Ray, our producer. Tell a friend, First and Pod. Peace.